and these heavy metals, lead, cadmium, and bromine. So since we were using LCA, we were following ISO 14040 as a procedure. And just to define terms, so LCA is compilation of and evaluation of inputs, outputs, and potential environmental impacts throughout the life cycle. And then ano yung life cycle, then the product systems and product load, which would be clearer once we look at the ito yung product cycle. That's we extract the raw material. So hindi lang po yung pinag-uusapan natin is when we use it or when we throw it away. The thing with some of the materials that we are considering is dahil we could see the apparent pollution caused by it during the disposal. But we also have to look at...
Sabi over na daw.
Ayan. Ayun ba?
Hello, sir?
Yup.
Sir, pwede po pa-full screen daw po yung presentation?
Pag pinull screen ko, hindi siya
Pasensya na po,
gagalaw.
sir.
Pag pinull screen ko, hindi siya gagalaw. Yung naging problema kanina.
Okay na? Sige, sir, okay na daw po. Thank you po, pasensya na.
Okay lang. So, again, when we look at the pollution cost, hindi lang po doon sa pagtapon ng material, but also we look at from the extraction of the raw material, from the production of the material into the product that we need to use it, then how we use it, do we recycle it or not. Sometimes there are cases when you do recycling, the environmental impact might be greater than when we throw the materials away. So we look at this all from, sabi nga, yung cradle to grave. So in 2017, we came up with a study looking at the LCA paper, non-woven PP, and plastic practically the stand bag question. We were not able to do an LCA for indigenous bags simply because there was the only manufacturer that we encountered then was the Louisiana Cooperative. Unfortunately, at that place, medyo wane na yung so mawawala na rin yung gumagawa ng payong. So the study found out that if we use the non-woven PP, or more popularly known as eco bag, we have to use it at least 50 times so that its impact would be much lesser than the plastic, your usual plastic, or the high-density polyethylene plastic bag. And the cost of remediation, it seems that we assume that paper bags would be sludge or silt that would prevail in the rivers. And well, practically, paper would have a higher environmental impact when it comes to the extraction of the raw material up to the production process. When we total everything, the plastic bags would have a lesser environmental impact with paper. So, isa-isahin ko ng pagpapakita. So, prior to the pandemic, look at the date, that's February 12, 2020, the Commission came out with this resolution encouraging or discouraging government offices, whether they're NGAs, LGUs, GOCCs, to press
idungan daw boom truck.
Manihil kang sir, nakaruwana, mabutay.
Millimeters in thickness, plastic straws, plastic coffee spears, plastic spoons, plastic forks, plastic knives, and the thin film plastic, which is less than 15 microns, are being brought in and used in government agencies. However, due to the pandemic, eventually no implementing rules and regulations was implemented for this, simply because we were trying to avoid being contaminated with COVID.
Katunta pareho daw sa
How-
kuan ba? Nang
However, towards the
kuan ba dire tama ni
start of the year, last year, February 2021, the Commission eventually came out with a resolution declaring the plastic soft drink
Dito na
straw
sa
and the plastic
supplier.
coffee stirrer as non-environmentally acceptable products.
Drungan na bayugan.
So that's why we are now all here, so that the DNR could finally come up with the implementing rules and regulations for the phase out of these two items. So, yan naman yata. So, nag-move ba yung slide? Hindi, no? So, ito yung last slide. So, I guess that's about it. Maganda pa yata yung recording ko na lang tingnan. Magandang umaga po ulit, and yun po yung presentation about the updates of
Ay, oo.
preventing
Bigyan ko dalaon.
restoration
Salamat.
of plastic straws,
Ay, oo. Dapat na si City.
plastic
Sir Engineer
coffee
Alex.
stirrer as Nea. Back to you, Raquel.
Hala, kamo naman lay wala biyo man na ang esperanza, prosperidad, si Bagat. Kamo na lang di ay.
Oo, okay. Last week,
Nakamute ka yata.
solusyon nga, defense ka, as nga, lang kapatay, ubay yung tayo. Muna ako, problema din
I can hear you. I can hear you, Raquel. I don't know.
Sir, andito na po. Oo, thank you sir ha. O, pasensya na po sa ating mga technical difficulties. Pero bibigyan po namin sila ng copy ng presentation. Everyone will be furnished a copy po dun sa presentation
Pag-send
ni
og
Sir
imong
Ray.
kuan. Ay,
Through
dili
our
kay nag-attendance na.
regions
Ano man
po.
day kay kuan dito.
Okay, so
Email ad. Dito man nila i-send.
we have another technical presentation po, which is mas technical pa po dun sa naibigay po sa atin ni Sir Ray. So, we hope everyone will pay attention dahil ito po ang presentation ng assessment of plastic drinking straw and plastic coffee stirrer as potential NAIAP. And this study will be presented by the supervising research science research specialist of the Environment and Biotechnology
Ayun na na.
Division of the DOST-ITDI,
Engineer Ogsen na ro.
none other than Dr. Denbert C. Pangayaw. Sir, good morning.
Sa national na si section chief. Program section chief.
Untitled Chapter.
Di po sila.
Sir Denver. Sir, choppy ka po.
Kaning LGU libakmen ro ba kay murag ang babae nagsabak sa lalaki no. Kasi
Saka sir, hindi ko makita yung ano nyo, PowerPoint.
Sir, can we be allowed to share the presentations na lang po dito po sa EMB Central Office? Thank you po.
Pero sa camera ra to buong gigo eh. Nara oh.
Purple audio pa rin, sir.
Saan nagpapadako? Kita ka. Ang babae ito niya. Naku ay ba yung king lalaki na sa helikopter. Wala siyang nagsabak. Yun saan naman eh. Sa may...
Hello,
Day.
Sir Ray.
Anong problema
Sir Ray
mo sa-
Esquera.
Gawin matindi kayo mga problema, sir.
Kita no mga hinawayon lagi tapos sa ilo amigino.
Hello,
Charot.
Sir Denver.
Hello po.
Okay po,
Joanne.
malinaw na po.
Ha?
Sir, can we share na lang po the presentation
ano man na?
para po, ano po, dito
Sa
na lang
kuan
po
na,
magaling
sa
po sa
laptop.
central ng EMP?
Sige po.
Okay po, sir. Thank you po.
Na.
May payaw.
Okay, so
Ganun.
once again, good morning everyone. So in behalf of Engineer Esquera, our
Wala, lagi
project
na
leader,
I am here to present to you the research output
Kani kay kuan
of
jud.
our group, which is the economic and life cycle assessment of plastic soft drink straw and plastic coffee
Soft drink
stain.
straw murag naa na
Next
ba
slide,
to?
please.
Na ba ito kuan nga gibana ni siya. Basi na sila gi-add no
Okay,
kaning
so
sa milk
just a brief
tea.
introduction. No, part of this was already discussed
Single
by
use
Engineer
plastic
Ray, but I'll
is
just give
single
a
use
short introduction. So, what is single-use plastic? So, single-use plastic, or SUP, is any plastic material designed to be disposed and can be only used one time only. For example of this is food packaging, grocery bags, bottles, cutlery, spears, and straws,
presentation.
as defined by Janet Al in 2021 and UNEP in
Hoy na magali
2015.
na magali uban
So,
anak nga
what are the
magbayad ra
environmental
kuan
problems
Mariel.
exhibited by single-use plastics? Based on different references, number one of this is
Oo,
around
dyan.
150 million tons
Sige
of
kay
disposable
kugihan man ka.
plastics are being thrown away every year. And in the Philippines,
Ini
approximately
kuan na sa
17.5 million plastics are disposed annually.
pagka ni
So by 2050,
kana bitong imuhan ng
so
ipaglaban
about
unsay tawag
4
ana?
billion tons of wasted plastics
Defense.
may end up in the
Unsaon ni
environment,
mugtubag
and
ining
most
magbayad
of
ra
these
ka.
plastics are non-biodegradable and break into smaller pieces, what we call the microplastics, that can enter into the natural environment over time. So because of these microplastics and chemical additives associated with plastics, and this persists in the environment until the animals or species are ingested. So particularly the study on economic and life cycle assessment of particular single-use plastics would benefit the plastic industry and its manufacturers, importers, exporters, and distributors, recyclers, and retailers. Moreover, the results of this project would help policymakers on the future actions of single-use plastics. So yun po yung ginagawa natin today. So next slide please. So this was already discussed by Engineer, but I'll just give it another briefer. So LCA is a systematic tool for environmental assessment which can quantify the impact of products or processes through multiple footprint metrics. No, so discussed earlier, so we should as atmospheric emission, wastewater effluent, solid waste production, and also the main product and co-products within the system boundaries. So this process accounts to all masses and energy flows related to the products or processes that's being assessed. Next slide, please. So based on ISO 14000, so this is the Lca framework. So we have the goal and scope definition, inventory analysis, impact assessment, and the interpretation of the data. For the key concept, we will be using the cradle to grave. So that's the system boundary, and we will be using a functional unit. This is to establish the equivalence in functionality to have a fair comparison. So we will be comparing apple to apple then, so that we can see the difference. Then the inventory analysis, primarily we have achieved this through primary industrial data, models, and panel of experts for data gathering. And then the impact assessment is we aggregated and quantify environmental emissions based on the processes that was being used in the production of the single-use plastics. And we also use the matrix-based LCA model where it fixed mass and energy ratios regardless of the scale. So that is part of the fundamental assumption that even if it grows of it multiplies more than the functional unit, the emission would be the same. Just may factor lang siya. Okay, next slide please. Next slide po. Okay, sige po. Paki-enter po. Meron pa pong lalabas dyan. Pa-enter po. Yeah. Okay.
Dili.
So for the goal and scope definition, so the functional unit that we use is 1 1,000. Back then. The 1,000 unit of plastics straws and plastic stirrers, no? So this is the typical production of plastic straws and stirrer from the raw material production, which is the polypropylene, and the master batch is the colorant, and then the manufacturing of the product, we use extrusion, molding, and cutting, and then the manual packaging, and then the waste disposal, which is the end of life. So in this research, we assume 4 scenarios, which is the open dumping, open burning, landfilling, and incineration. And then for the background process, we have the generation of electricity. So this is the material and energy flow. So we got this in your right-hand side, no? From a local plastic manufacturer of plastic straws and stirrer. So this is the input, no? We have the polypropylene pellets, the colorant, which is the white master batch, and the red master batch for straws and stirrers. And then also the electricity generation per 1,000 units of plastic straws and stirrers. Next slide, please. So for the life cycle inventory analysis, so for the data source, so we use the open LCA software, wherein it is incorporated with EcoInvent version 3.7 databases. And also we also use patent documents, no, for the data analysis. So the patent document used for master batch is the composition. Since the company did not give us the exact formulation for the master batch that they use, so we use the patent document so that we could see, no, the composition. And based on the patent document, we only was given ranges. So to move the uncertainty, so we use the sensitivity analysis. No? If you can see here, for the components of white master batch, so we have titanium dioxide for scenario 1, 2, and 3, that is 40, 55, and 70, and then the carrier, which is the polypropylene, which is the base plastic for the production of straws and stirrers, is 60, 45, and 30. For the red master batch, we have titanium oxide, and then we have the red colorant, which is the iron oxide, and then the carrier. So also we have 3 scenarios, that's 40, 55, and 70. Okay, next slide, please. So also part of the inventory, so we have the transportation of the raw materials to the production and to the retailers and to the raw material production and to the company, no? So we have the polypropylene pellets, the master batch, and the distribution to seller. So in terms of trucks and ships, so we used to estimate the distance in kilometers, no, from the origin of the raw material up to the distribution. Then next, the end of life scenario. So this is the scenario
kung ang ladaga pagkagulo niya gula ko sa
the current
kuan.
plastic waste management of the Philippines
Sa
based
iya
on
dong staff iyang di pa kuan niya nagkuan mo si
possible
Marjorie
development,
nagwax.
and also possible development. So this is based on literature. So we have first
Nga
scenario,
na ako.
first the baseline. So assuming that open dumping, open burning, disposal in sanitary landfill, and disposal in sanitary landfill are
Lagi. Nana ko sir, good morning. Online ka, wala lagi ka naka-attend sa kung ano ni siya. Ako nagi-pa-attend akong
dumping.
staff.
So it will be disregarded, no?
Si Ma'am Marge man na iyang kuan.
In open
Yan, nangutan naman ko ni Ma'am Marjorie. Ano ko, ma'am, ikaw man daw ang ipa-attend. Ano siya, nag-wax man ko, ma'am, walay naka-attend. Ko, wala siya na-inform. Nga walay ni-attend. Dapat siya na lang. No, nangita ko diri sa mga participants. Attendance.
So for the total emissions obtained, the inventory analysis can be categorized into 2 different IPA categories or different IPA categories, so such as global warming potentials and also depleting potentials. Now, if there are total emissions like methane, CO2, NOx, SOx, we have the refrigerants such as CFC10, halons 1301, and R14.
Bahala siya eh.
And these potentials are being calculated for their characterization factor in terms of kilogram equivalent CO2 and
Nag-inom
kilogram
ta na siya kay
equivalent
para ang
CFC
sibagas na ni
level.
sulod eh.
So, impact
Sayang ang
categories can
slot.
be pinpoint and endpoint indicators. So, which depends on where the cause effect chain are assessed occurs. So, both
Late
have
na po eh.
disadvantages and advantages. So,
Sagdiin na lang.
example of this is the emission presented below belongs to the global warming and also depleting potentials, which is the midpoint. This is caused by the increase in the diseases, which is the damaging pathways, leading to the negative effects on human health, which is the endpoint. So the
Nag-virtual o
endpoint, we have
natulog
three.
eh.
We have human health, environment or ecosystem, and we have the
Lugi?
raw materials.
Si Ma'am Marjorie, hapit na may human wax apas ra ko ma'am. Luoy pud ani niya oy mo wax pa, mo virtual pa.
So,
Wala
using
hindi
of
eh.
LCA, which is incorporated there is Eco-Invent version 3.7 and
Dili ara nila oy.
2016 H for impact assessment methodology. There are 18, I think there are 18 midpoint categories and there are 3 endpoint categories. So, the midpoint categories are the common categories for emissions and pollutants, so such as particulate matter, ozone formation, we have global warming, water use, ecotoxicity for freshwater, terrestrial, and we have also marine. Then we have the mineral resources and fossil resources, energy. Then for the endpoint, we have damage to health, human health, ecosystem, and availability of resources. Next slide. Okay, so for the economic analysis parameter, so this is also a cost from our local plastic manufacturer. So we will be using this later on for the economic analysis. These are the components, polypropylene pellets, the colorant, the electricity, labor cost, and tracking cost, and the estimated retail prices per 1,000 unit of plastic straws and stirrers. So this will also be an additional data necessary to obtain meaningful and complete economic analysis. Next slide, please.
Economic analysis parameters. Master batch composition scenario results.
So if you remember I told you earlier that we do not know the exact value of the master batch. So to eliminate the uncertainty, so we make this we conduct the LCA or the midpoint indicator. For this one is for, so if you can see here, so at 100%, meaning there's no change. So if you go beyond 100%, meaning you have more environmental effect, and then if lesser, it would be better, meaning less environmental effect. So if you can see here, almost all of the scenario, that is the 40, 55, and 70% master batch, wala masyadong effects. But if you can see the mineral resource scarcity, mataas yung kanyang impact kasi nga we are extracting titanium dioxide and iron oxides, so that's why the impact is more on the mineral resources rather than the other midpoint categories indicators. Okay, next slide, please. So same goes with the plastic straw. Okay, so the next slide. So you can see here the mineral scarcity, mataas yung kanyang Okay, sorry. So for the stirrer, you can see here that for human health, ecosystem, and resources, so wala masyadong impact ang yung colorant. So this is now the divergence of all this is the end goal. So when we combine all of the midpoint indicators, so we can see here um, emission indicators as compared with the marine, which is water, kasi hindi naman napupunta din yung kanyang byproduct, no? Kaya mas less. Okay, so when we do the scenario, so meron talaga siyang disadvantage and advantages. Okay, next slide please. Okay, so if we go to the endpoint indicator, so meaning we diverge all of the factors, the midpoint indicators. So you can see here that the in human health S2, which is the ideal end of life, is better. But if you can for human health, then for ecosystem they're the same for baseline S1 and S2, and then for resources they're all the same. But if you can see here for S3, may impact siya sa health and ecosystem because of the incineration. Okay. So meaning, the end of life really is part of that, which is S2, the ideal end of life is better as compared with the other scenarios. Next slide, please. Now we go with the plastic straws. So almost the same sila ng midpoint indicator results ni Steerer. So mataas pa din yung kanyang ozone depletion, global warming, and all indication of air emission. Pero mababa for S3, mababa for water. Okay. So next slide please. So ayun yung kanina. So almost same sila ng pattern for straws and Steerer. Now for the endpoint indicators, so kung makikita niyo, almost same din yung kanyang result when compared to Steerer, no? So human health better si S2, but S3 is worse for health and ecosystem because of the emission done by incinerator. And for resources, they're just
same ra sa amo. Sildo giveaways, mga benefits.
Okay. Now we have the configuration analysis and the normalizing of the results.
Dili kayo
So for the
nagkuyog mo Mitchaw.
The input that we used in the LCA, which is electricity, polypropylene, the type of distribution, raw material transportation, end of life, and master batch, you can see here that the bulk of impacts are either due to polypropylene, which is the color orange, or due to the end of life with the color light blue. So makita nyo po dyan na yun po yung bulk of the impacts, meaning for the midpoint indicators, most of them are factors due to the raw material, which is the polypropylene, and the end of life, meaning how we our waste management system here in the Philippines. Yeah. So for mineral resource scarcity, the master batch raw material has the largest contributor of focus. We need to extract titanium oxide for the colorant. Next slide, please. So this is the endpoint indicator. So you can see here that we have the orange color. So meaning that the bulk of the endpoint damage is due to the raw material, which is the polypropylene pellets. No? Same goes with the resources, ecosystem, and human health. So meaning the main culprit for the damage is caused by the raw material. Okay. For the plastic straw, so we check the midpoint indicators. So you can see here that same then, so bulk of the impact it's either due to the polypropylene or the end of life. And then the results for with the plastic stirrer, but with much amplification related to the master batch.
Kuan, Forest
Because of
Ranger,
the
kanang
with
item
the
na.
mineral resource scarcity,
Mao na
kasi the
kuan
one,
sa
mas marami
kanang
sa
dili
mineral
ka
resource
passer mo na
scarcity
pinakataas
because
ka
of
item
the
sa
extraction
bali mo
or the
permanent ba?
uses of titanium oxide and
Forest Ranger.
iron oxide. So, doon lang naman sila
Dili man na sila kuan.
different. Next slide. But here, in the end of life or the endpoint indicators,
Mag-renew
you
rin
can
yan.
see here that for resources, the bulk of the damage is caused by
Program based man
polypropylene.
me. Pag
But for
ma-end ang
ecosystem,
program,
it's a
wala na pud me.
50-50, but more on the end of life.
Oh, wala
This
na
is
may
how
trabaho.
we dispose our waste. No? So remember guys, plastic straws is lighter than stirrer. And also, we produce more plastic straws than stirrer. Kaya, diba, if you left the straw somewhere, then if there's a wind, then it will be transported
Ay, di ba?
somewhere. So, kaya mas malaking impact sa ecosystem. Then, for human health, it's the end of life scenario, which is has a greater impact. No? Meaning how we manage our waste. So, that is affecting the human health endpoint category. Okay, next slide, please. So now we did a heat map for the plastic stirrer, and it shows here that impact categories, the top 3 is
Unsa man ang taas
toxicity of human, carcinogenic, freshwater, and marine, and the largest contributor is polypropylene and end of life.
Anong
So now we see that
maglisod kog sabot.
using
Hindi ko ganahan. Gusto ko
polypropylene
itong naay.
that really have an impact, but
Ang dili graph. Naara ka ni.
compared to the end of life, no, our waste management system is also give us a contributor, no, for the effects.
The highest impact
Or
category
the
human.
impacts, no, the contributor of the impacts.
Freshwater.
Next slide, please. So same goes with the straw, plastic straw,
Toxic.
and the result is almost the same for
Kanang milk
plastic
tea yun.
straw.
Milk tea ba? Di ba nanay straw?
Next slide.
Busog.
Yeah. So, if you see same then, the top 3 are the human carcinogenic, toxicity, freshwater, and marine ecotoxicity, wherein polypropylene and end of life is the largest contributor. So, yun po yun. So it is really us, no, the person who uses the plastic straws and stirrer are responsible, no, for the impacts. So, kaya that's why we need to do something about it. So for the economic analysis now, we have here the estimated consumption and revenue of plastic stirrer because we did not have any data, so we just correlated this. So if you can see here in the graph, so from 2017 onwards, there is an increase of 47 million pieces of plastic coffee stirrer uses annually with an additional revenue of 11 million pesos.
Kanang bitong kahoy
So if
nga
the ban of
stirrer,
plastic
okay ra na.
waste is to be implemented from 2023 to 2025, approximately 2.6 billion pieces of plastic coffee stirrer will be removed from the environment with a total revenue of 650
Nga
million
init ba yan ay maikuan?
So currently, the price of wood coffee stirrer is 0.80 centavos per
Kuno,
piece to
plastic.
0.30 centavos per piece as compared to the plastic coffee stirrer which ranges from 0.22 to 0.4 centavos. So making the coffee stirrer relatively cheaper than the plastic stirrer. So actually, the plastic coffee stirrer naman is not really necessary. So, but if you really want to have a stirrer, so you can use wood
Magkutsara na lang di ay
or
no.
you can use spoon or even the wrapper of the 3-in-1
Balunan ba?
diba, ginagamit natin siya for mixing the coffee. So meaning that
Tanan
it's
type
not that
daw or
necessary. So
like anang
we can find other alternative, no, to steal our coffee in the morning. So next slide, please. So for the plastic straw,
metal,
so
anang
since
metal
also
type.
we did not get any consumption.
Labi nagmakuan
The
sa
impact for this, so
sa
we just
ulan.
projected
Mahugasan ba
the
sa tubig sa
population
ulan
based
kay
on the
mo
Philippine
taya?
Statistical Philippine
So
Statistical
acid kayong
Authority,
ulan unsa man.
PSA, the population from 2015 to
Nya unsay naa
2025
sa
were in
unsay naa
age
sa
group
metal
is
nga
50
nganong
to
mutaya
59
siya
years
pag ang
old,
tubig
assuming
gamiton
that
sa ulan?
they are the buying population, wherein 75% of this age group uses one plastic drinking
Wala
straw,
no.
a soft drink straw per day. So in
Or basin ang
2021,
katong
the
metal nga
estimated
katong
consumption
kutsara
would
kuan
be
siya nipis ra kaayo dili
18.1 billion
unang dali ra siya
pesos, wherein there's a revenue of 1.2 billion pesos. I told you earlier, no, we produce more plastic straw than
Nya
coffee
ining
steamer.
magpa ulan-ulan ta
So
makuan
the
sa
banning
to.
of plastic waste is to be
Panit man ang
implemented
magka
in
skin
2023
disease.
to 2025.
Ayos sa po di cancer.
So
Disease lang
approximately
sa
56.6 billion drinking straw
bitaw. Wala akong anak kay ganahan
removed
ba
in
yung
the
ulan.
environment, and 3.9 billion pesos would be
Pero karon dili
also
na.
removed from the
Panahon
circulation.
karon.
So the stoppage of the production of the plastic straws and coffee stirrer will displace or place to other jobs
Uy, moabot
approximately
jud ta ana pag ang mga tao kay
employees. So just
lazy dili mo.
a rough estimate, no, of the people that will be displaced or will be changing or will be placed into other jobs. Okay, next slide po.
Katong mga chemicals ito nato na sa langit.
Gali.
Okay, so this is a profit margin, no, based on which is more straws or stealers.
Sabi
So
po ng langit.
that
Sa clouds ra siguro.
is more profitable because
Kayo ay
they
kaya
need
daw
to
ang
put
langit.
more often than the stealers. And then if you consider the graph, no, so bulk of the cost is with the polypropylene pellet, then we have electricity, master batch labor costs here. So for both SUP, the polypropylene raw material is the largest contributor to the cost. Thus, polypropylene used for plastic steels and straw is not just costly from an environmental perspective, but also economic-wise. So this should be further strengthen the attractiveness of recycling strategies, as this can offset both environmental impact and cost. So the economic competitiveness of these SUPs must be compared with the alternatives if there is available in the market. Next slide, please. So I think we have now the conclusion of the results. So based on the study, we concluded that polypropylene material was the leading source of impact for most categories, especially for those related to terrestrial and atmospheric
Ay,
pollution.
nag-conclusion na.
So for plastic steamers and aggregated effects, at the end point shows that polypropylene raw material have more damaging effects on human health, ecosystem quality, and resource. While for plastic straws, polypropylene and end-of-life scenario are the greatest impact on resources and ecosystem quality and human health, respectively. Most impactful midpoint categories for plastic series and straws are human carcinogenic toxicity, freshwater ecotoxicity, and marine toxicity, which is accounted for the use of polypropylene
Itong
material
banada
and the end-of-life treatment as
Nag-drive.
the largest contributor for these three
Magkalaitan mo siguro yung pagkahapon.
cycles of
Mag-unsa
plastic
sila?
steels and straw are
Kalaitan
contributing. So for plastic steers, the annual increase is 47 million pieces, and 11.8 million pesos revenue was
Santa Irene
average
ang
from
Arbor
2015
Day.
to 2025. And then plastic straws
Mag-tree-planting
annually
o
increased
clean up.
300 million pieces and
Tree-planting ra?
20.7 million pesos in
Ay,
revenue
ikuan-kuan na.
from 2015 to 2025. So
Asa,
non-usage of
asa
plastic
sa
straws
barangay
is
hall sa
better,
Santa Irene?
and the use of wood coffee steer
Uy,
is
Diyos
slightly
ko.
cheaper as compared to plastic
Hindi
steer.
na lang ko.
However, we would like to emphasize that if we could
Sure ba?
avoid using straws and steamer,
Kasi
the better,
nailahi nga. Din niya.
if we can. Okay, for our recommendation, so Considering the use of
Uban
alternative
ninyo ang
sources of
Senro.
material and technology for this type of single-use plastic.
Sila ilahan ng
Also, we need to improve our plastic waste management system in the country, as shown in the LCA nga that the end-of-life scenario is really one of the
Dili,
causes of
Ibalik ra ni, ibalik pa ni sa inyo.
damages in the ecosystem. Also, we could combine existing and emerging technologies for plastic waste management, and also eventually could also conduct social life cycle assessment. No? So what can be
Wala
the
siya
social
ko
impact and
CTC
the social
number, si Mayor.
take of people if we remove plastic straws and steel in the market. So with that, thank you for listening and have a good day.
Ayun, isang masigabong palakpakan para kay Sir Denver. Sir, marami pong salamat sa presentation ninyo. Finally, nakita rin natin po yung mga result ng studies ng
Kani pong witness sa DOD, si
DOST-IDBI.
Menro.
So, kaya pa po ba? Di ba po tayo nosebleed? Okay po, so marami po akong nakita dito na nag-open po ng camera nila. So, tamang-tama po yan kasi magkakaroon po tayo ng photo ops. Okay? So, ano po, gawin po natin ulit is by region po ulit, ano? So, pabaliktad naman tayo ngayon para maiba naman na. Okay? So, siguro po mauna muna yung mga participants natin from BARM. BARM po, pa-open po ng cam ninyo.
Bar.
Ating pong magagandang taga-BARM at
Dapat
guwapo.
isa tatanan. Di siguro maigo na.
Hello po.
Screenshot ra ba?
Sino mag-ano sa atin?
Secret.
DJ, ikaw na? Ha? Bibilang ako. Bibilang daw po ako. Okay po.
Di ra lagi ni.
3, 2, 1, go!
Unya na kay pakulmahan pagkina.
Smile. May isa pang screen.
Uy, karaga.
Wala pa.
Okay na daw po. Okay, so next region po is Caraga.
Karaga na.
Pa-open po ng ating mga cam.
Lawi kay smile.
Caraga po. Ilang screen? Isa lang? Okay, so smile po. 3, 2, 1, go! Okay, marami pong salamat mga taga-Caraga. Okay, so ang susunod po is Region 12.
Ay, gimute
Region
nila
12 po. Hello po sa mga taga-Region 12.
Ang focal day diri sa kuan.
Okay,
Solid waste
ilang
transfer.
screen?
Jeff.
Isa, okay, isang screen. So, isang shot lang po ito. So, 3, 2, 1,
Tumawag ka ni Sir
go!
Nel.
Okay, marami pong salamat. Okay, Region 12. And then, countdown po. Next is Region 11. Region 11 po, pa-open po ng ating mga cam. Ayun, mga magaganda at gwapong mga Region 11. Okay, ilang screen? Isa lang?
20.
Okay, so isang screen po ulit. Okay, 3, 2, 1, smile!
Smile.
Ba't wala pa?
Wait lang. Okay. Nag-click na ako lang.
Okay. Okay. Sige po. Next. Next po natin is Region 12.
Katong mga nato ba?
Ay, sorry, Region 12. Region 10 po. Sorry. Region 10.
Dapat ilang isend
Hello?
diri sa atong ko ano,
Hello.
ang picture.
Opo, okay. So,
Ang
smile
picture
po
ba?
ulit.
Isend diri
3,
para natin
2,
copy.
1, go! Okay. And then,
Number 90,
last na po, Region 9.
2009.
One and only.
Number 19,
Okay, pa-open
series
po
of
ng ating cam,
2009.
Region 9.
Hindi po gali ko.
Okay, okay, smile. 3, 2, 1,
Natag nila Sir Jeff.
go.
Oo. Ay, basin mauning gikuan diri, gidiscuss
Okay.
amo ni.
Okay.
Ano ni
Thank
discuss
you
pa?
po.
Nag-advance og hatag ani.
Okay.
Pero si Matt,
Ganyan po natin po, kasi minsan mahina ang ating bandwidth, no? Makakatulong po yan.
Lalo
Okay.
pa sila na public
So,
consultation.
we proceed
Dapat
now.
before sila nakaabot
Opo,
ani nga resolution. Humana
The next part of our program is the presentation of the draft guidelines. Ito po yung sinasabi na kukomenta niyo mamaya. Guidelines on the phase-out
Permahanan ni
schedule of plastic soft drink straw and plastic soft steerer declared as NAYAP. To be presented by our OIC Chief of the EMB Solid Waste Management Division, Ms. Juvinia P. Serafin.
Isa daw?
Good morning po, Ma'am Juvie. Good morning po, Ma'am.
Nag-open di kag camera?
Ayan. So, good morning po sa lahat ng ating taga Mindanao
Uy,
regions.
Mahalata ka dahil nga
Okay, so before po siguro ako mag-proceed, Manang Bailey, naka-raise hand ka po.
Si Nay nag-raise.
Okay po.
Tapos wala kang dawat.
May question
Unsa ka year?
si Ma'am or Sir from ISCON, SP.
Ang imo ang interview virtual.
Yes, yes,
Ah, wala ko na.
Okay po, sige po. 2 minutes for the konting questions for the
It's just a reaction to the presentation. Kasi mukhang hindi ko narinig yung previous na siguro ngayon lang ako
Sa
nag-focus.
opisina.
I heard kasi na itong plastic straw
reklamo
ay
sa air.
Unsa ilang hiring
ito ay due to polypropylene or the EOL of plastic utensils. Now, in the market,
Mga
I
kasabay
think
sila mo
this plastic straw is not the
Kinaabot
only
sila sa
product
sulod.
that has this polypropylene material or the EOL. Now, if we are going to ban this plastic now, I'm not going against this banning, kasi it's already decided eh. But at the start, I was expecting na dapat sana yung
Uy, ano
sa
ba ni
tuban
si
kasi yun ang parati.
Sir Belly Cabeso? Sige siya
Now,
grace.
if we had banned this plastic straw, with the so many products in the market bearing this polypropylene material, we have not yet solved the impacts of this PP or EOL. Now, I think it's high time for us that to identify all products and materials bearing this polypropylene materials. Kasi I think hindi lang itong plastic straw ang merong ganitong material sa market eh. And pangalawa, naririnig ko kasi ang incineration doon. Siyempre, pag sinunog po, pero we need to clarify, yun bang incineration na yun, meron bang air pollution control device? Yung mga ganong tipo. Do you hear me clear?
very loud.
Oo. Yun yung aking issue ngayon
Loud
kasi,
and clear.
yung polypropylene, siguro, I think we need to, kung ito ay malaki ang negative impact niya sa ating health, environment, and everything. So I think my suggestion is it is high time for the industries to identify, for all of us, to identify all products bearing these materials in the market. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much po, Ma'am Becky. Siguro, from the stand po or from the side of the Solid Waste Management Division po, ma'am, hindi lang po may naka-pipeline naman po tayo, may targets po tayo for conduct of either a life cycle assessment or any study that is acceptable to the Commission and to the stakeholders for opo. Since ngayon lang po, ang meron lang po study pa tayo is for the plastic soft drinks to and for the plastic office tier. Hindi po kasi tayo pwedeng
Wala
mag-direct
may
ban.
amount depende sa
Pero po,
imong travel.
meron po tayong target for conduct of study
Well,
muna, and after determination, if meron po silang, if
ay kung out
na-identify po
of my
sila as
jurisdiction
saka
ra,
po ulit tayo
halimbawa sa
magkakaroon ng
Butuan di ba na ako
another public
na
consultations
ako'y
for the banning of
700.
these products po. So may mga naka-target po tayo for the
Kuan na
conduct of
siya
this study.
pagkaon,
So I think
pagkaon o
the DOST
tulog
can
nga
also add po to
150,
that, Sir Ray, Sir Danbert.
75 ang kaon buntag udto hapon.
Amo kay pag isa ra inana isa ka adlaw ra 450.
Tanan na
Okay po,
pati
manang
tulog. Kaon ra
May
siguro
buwan.
na.
Kaya man na kay naghatod ra man tawag.
Yes po, sir. Yes po.
Depende pud kung usa ka oras na gikan. Kung dito po ka natulog, na kay accommodation.
Study lang po kasi, so ang nakapokus po kami is for straws and steamer. But if you
kung basta ang
if we could,
tulog
if we
300
would
ang
be
kaon
able to
75
life cycle
kada
assess
kaon.
all of the product, so we would definitely know which one would be have an environmental impact, no? Pero tama po si
Karon
Ma'am.
ra pud na
For the
wala
sa
na.
komisyon po, one at a time lang po yung ginagawa.
Wala gyud ni sa una.
Madami din po kasi.
Ingon ni Ma'am Ana.
Ano fel ang among 18 kuhaan og 4,000 mao na siya ipliti-pliti. So mahulog nga 10 ra tong amo akay kuhaan pa mag-is pag
Manang Benny, did we answer po your
Isa
query
pa.
po?
Is pag
Yes, you're right. But, in the production, alam na nila kung ano yung material na nandun. So, hindi na kailangan na study eh. Dahil alam na nila na if there is a polypropylene content or the EOR ng isang product, ay nakita ko na yan ay mayroong negative impact. No? Lalo na sa atin ay marami pa rin, no? Hindi pa rin proper yung disposal.
Durag tanan man negative impact.
Marami pa dyan nagbabackyard burning and everything.
Ang pagsunog, labi na
So,
sa plastic.
pero hindi sinabi ng study na kung nasunog po yung bagay na yon with the right air pollution control device, hindi sinabi ng study na yun ba
Wala
ay isa
naman na,
pa ang negative
nag-coincide naman
impact.
sila.
Yan lang ang hindi ko
Klaro
narinig.
naman na.
Okay, thank you.
So unsa may means nila nga kay ang
Paglimpyo para walay lamok.
Okay po, thank you very much po. We have already
isunog.
attached po the copy of the presentations pala dito sa chat box po. Para mas ma-further review niyo po, baka may na-skip din po tayo na slides. So parang si Ma'am Carla, Angeline, kindly state po your LGU or your office po.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm Carla de la Cruz po from Jolly Food
Si
Corporation.
Ma'am Carla.
May raise lang po kaming question. So, kasi based sa Section 29 of RA 90003, NIAPs or yung plastic straws may not be prohibited if there are no alternatives or if the alternatives cost more than 10% of the item to be phased out. So, yung global supply chain kasi namin, they check the prices of paper straws and the quotations are 100% more expensive than yung current na ginagamit namin na plastic straws. So, we want to know if meron na po bang nakita na substitute for the plastic straws that meets the threshold of 10% maximum the price variance.
Grabe, bilisaya na yun o malata.
Okay, Sir Danbert, hindi po, pwede po natin i-write it the presentation regarding that po.
tirungan kanang stick bitaw sa barbecue.
Tirungan. Dahil na siya.
Mama siguro na.
Hello po, Sir Danbert.
Ako ba, ma'am, si Sir?
Siguro, maybe for DOST po, since na-mention din po kanina po yun sa presentation po.
Actually, there are current studies, for example, for ITDI of
Uhot. Nakutoy uhot.
Usod kay manikit, no?
Ha?
Parang
Manikit?
mahanlok pa man ka ng
experimental stage, but I'm not sure if there are biodegradable
Uy,
products. but
wala
I'm
mo
not
kung
sure of the
authority
price.
nga manikit. Mag-picture lang man ako
So,
authority.
pero for DSD,
Diri o.
ITDI, we are
Ay, dili man yung
conducting researches na po.
Pero kay dito sa Bayban City
bio-based
si Ernesto may
material.
na-assign dito gitagaan siya sa city o Ernesto Castro.
For substitution.
Gitagaan siya og authority sa
But
city nga
commercially not yet
kanang
pa
kung
yung,
naa siya makitaan nga
yung
tao nga
kanyang
as in on the spot
production.
kanang
But I'm not
makaticket siya
sure
admission ticket
if
unya
TMB
70
already has,
30 na siya kuan ba
meron na
so
silang
kanang
list
share
nga nung mga possible
mauna
na nasa
sa
market.
dili na
dito sa
wala ko kabalo
For that one. But for ITDI, we are also doing the research and development for alternative.
nagali ko huy gana ka ay kadong no kay lahi mo siya do na kapag yung kay share sa kuan
Pero nakatingit na daw siya.
mo nang makuan ba ya siya mainganyo kasi tawag ana
Sir, baka
ma-excite nga mag-monitor kay ano
may alternative doon sa straw.
dako
For the
47
straw,
barangays
talagang you do not use the straw para wala kang impact. For the steer, based on sa price na
Maria
nakita
Homes
namin,
also
sa hotel,
sa ang subdivision
pero yun nga, kung hindi ka, kung you cannot use the steerer, much better.
unya
Kasi
kay
parang
di man na niya
it's not,
masakpan kung
for
kasi
straws
nagkuan
and steerer naman, hindi
magalabay
siya talaga yung parang immediate, you can drink naman from the cup or
kay naman
can
sila yung
bring your own
kuan
straw, metal straw or something like
postal
that. So, the best talaga is not to use them unless
ang
if you
barangay mo
are
ay nag-initiate ana kanang sa mga major
health compromised, no? You need really the straw and the steer. Pero other than that, if you could
ang
eliminate
mura
it,
pud diri kanang isalig sa kuan
Saling na sa
municipio or sa city nagyabag
maluyahan na ito.
tanawa si kapitan gaina sa mabuhay wala
kasi
pa rin sila
elimination
sa
of
WMC
Kabalo ka, ma'am. Ano pag monitoring ni ano nga. Ngayon dinalagi kumutin mo ganun.
Okay po, so clear po nung sa PowerPoint po nila Sir Denver,
Executive board.
yung pong alternative doon sa coffee stirrer ay wooden stirrer and yung sa straw po is non-usage po yung alternative. Okay po. So, Juvie, meron pong question dito sa chat, yung kay Ma'am or Sir Icon SP.
di ba ang barangay kay di ba ang barangay kay maghatag
Locally, especially in semi-urban and rural areas, we observe that the largest contributors to pollution are plastic bag and plastic bottles. Any similar assessment and regulation on these plastics?
totoo maghindo
So, ang nasabi po sa atin kanina ni DOST is may mga naka-line up po na products for study. So, isa-isa lang daw po at makakarating din tayo dyan. Okay, so, and on the commission level naman po, kailangan po is ma-nominate po ang product bago po ito mailista at magkaroon po ng study. So, dadaan pa po yan sa NSWMC and then we will request the DOST for the corresponding study po.
pero maulang gihapon
Okay po.
mga project kay pang
So, same din po sa question po ni Ma'am Emily.
bunawan pa ko no
So, yun po. So, madami po tayo rin sa SHE, no? So, ililinya po natin yan sa mga study po na nagagawin. Okay po. So, thank you very much sa mga lahat ng nag-ask ng question. Meron pa pala si Sir Gino. Sir Gino po of DNR Legal, sir. Yes, sir. May question. Apa.
Ako pa maputi si balik sa
Hindi po question, ay medyo clarification lang. Yung question ng representative galing sa private sector, sa industry, galing po lang sa legal comment lang namin. Talaga naman yung sabi ng batas ay kailangan may alternative product. Hindi po sa tingin namin tama na or sapat na sabihin na ang alternative natin ay huwag gumamit. Hindi po yun alternative. Kasi talagang sinabi especially sa batas na dapat may produkto na hindi lalampas sa 10% mas mahal kaysa sa pinopropose niya ni Yap. Tama rin po ba ang pagkaintindi namin na sa mga guidelines natin or at least dinadraft natin guidelines, hindi po DOST kundi DTI ang magdedetermine ng economically viable na alternatives. Kasi po, although meron po talagang ITDI na expertise rin nila yon, yung mandato po talaga ng DOST ay mas sa mga ng agham sa paggamit ng mga produktong ito, hindi sa aspeto ng ekonomika or ng industriya. Hindi po ba DTI talaga ang magsasuggest talaga ng alternative products?
Ma'am Juvie, yes, pwede ka po. So, Sir Dino, so, diba we have a compromise or we have drafted a compromise agreement since meron nga pong case filed by Oceana against the Commission regarding this NAIAP nga po, no? And the commitment nga po is the TDI will conduct the cost comparison, the products, the disposable products, and the alternatives contingent with the life cycle assessment. So, since we are already, or the DOST is already conducting po LCA of some of the identified single-use plastics in the Resolution 1360,
conduct of the face-to-face national
steel or plastic spoons, forks, and knives, and I think yung plastic labo po, no? So, after the conduct of the life cycle assessment,
before pandemic, 2019 to
DTI, nandito rin naman po ang representative of DTI, Director Carbonell, on the cost comparison or comparison of the prices of the disposable product versus the alternatives para mas we ensure that we comply with the requirements of Section 29 for innovation.
Thank you po, ma'am. Inaano po namin
make Cebu sa Cotabato
further na mga litigation.
Napod mo ikatong hoy anyway, madayon daw ang kaning kuan. Province. Naliyagan ba?
Yun lang po. Kailangan namin talagang sabihin na for now, clearly stating that there is an alternative way of not using the plastic stairs is not really po an alternative product as the law itself expressly requires.
So, baya to 17 ang naliyagan.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much po.
Walay boss.
PGSO,
naamay ka nang magkuha sa PGSO ka ng rent. No, mag-rent.
So, I think we will have to proceed. Meron pa po ba
ka nang naikuan for LGO?
Meron po tayong parang breakout session mamaya to further natin mahimay yung ating daw.
Murag wala lagi siguro yung naliyagan.
I will
start
the presentation of the draft daw. But before that, I would like to thank again po, no, very laki po ng tulong po ng EMB Regional lahat ng mga participan po na nandito. Also, BARM po,
sa inyong mga design.
We also invited the Menry BARM to participate para po makarating naman din po sa BARM yung ating po mga draft policies on the banning of NIAP. Okay po. So we also have po the National Solid Waste Management Commission members po. We just would like to acknowledge them. We have MMDA here, DTI, we have the